What is going on, everybody? Kevin Calhoun here. Welcome to the Calhoun Show. We are back. We got a big show today. Dan Condie is on the show. He was already here. Look at this one. It's up early. Believe it or not. Shocking as that may seem. So Dan was here. We talked about a bunch of different stuff. We talked about the NBA and all of the ridiculous things that have been happening between, Phil Jackson out with the Knicks, Chris Paul traded to the Rockets. We recapped some draft stuff with, the Celtics going after Paul George, Gordon Hayward, the Jimmy Butler trade, the Lakers getting rid of Russell, taking Lonzo. We talked about Russell Westbrook winning the MVP. There was a lot of different stuff. We mentioned at the beginning of this, and I was going to do it on last week's show, but there wasn't a show last week. So here's the recap. I told you guys a few weeks ago that Dan Patrick's crew was going to be coming to a Bridgeport Bluefish game, the team I work for. And they were going to have McLovin throw out a first pitch left-handed as a punishment for losing a bet on the show. And I told you guys on this show 2 weeks ago that I was very excited to meet McLovin. And I was hoping that some other people would show up. And as it turns out, Dan Patrick was there. Paulie Paps, the producer, was there. Dan Overlock, 2 days, Mario. They had a bunch of the guys I got to meet. It was awesome. I got to stand on the field while Dan Patrick had a catch and talk to him. He told me about his first job. He asked me how I ended up there. And then after I got to introduce McLovin onto the field, I got a handshake and a good luck from Dan Patrick. So it was, it was awesome. That's the guy for me. And those of you that have been listening since the beginning know that. So I got to meet that guy and it was amazing. It was awesome. And, they knew I was a fan of the show. And they were looking out for me too, because when they cut the video and put it together for the show, they made sure to not only get me on screen with McLovin, but also got the audio in there as well. So they were looking out. I got along with them great. We had a blast, and it was awesome. So without any further ado, here's the music, and here's Dan Condie. He's back. Dan Condie's in the studio.
How we doing?
So, Dan and I are going to talk about a bunch of different shit. We've got basketball stuff. We've got a couple football things. John McEnroe and Serena Williams is a thing that's going on right now. Connor and Floyd, since the last time this podcast was on, has been fully announced. So we have a few things to talk about.
A lot of things, yeah.
But number one, I've been teasing something on this show for the last few weeks. And it's now that time.
It is.
It's now that time. In a shocking move, two white guys are going to sit down in a room and have a podcast about sports together.
Never before heard. Never thought of. It's groundbreaking. No, here's what happened.
It's different, though.
So you all are familiar with me being on the Calhoun Show from time to time.
For sure.
And every time I leave here, I just think, man, there was such good chemistry. That really went off well. I had my own sports blog while I was living in Salt Lake City, so I'm not unfamiliar with the whole week in, week out production of putting my opinions out there.
Sure.
And Kevin and I, off the air more often than not.
I promise he puts his opinions out there way more than once a week.
Way more than once a week, right?
Way more. And you guys hear a snippet of that on this show.
Absolutely. So I thought, and Kevin thought, it'd be a good dynamic to have kind of an East versus West dynamic where we compete against each other specifically, making picks, making predictions, but actually holding our feet to the fire afterwards. Because who else does that?
Yeah, nobody. And the point of this is not to say that you can tune in every week and hear Dan and I break down what Vegas thinks about the NFL Week 3 schedule.
Fuck Vegas.
Right? Browns, plus 4.5 at Jacksonville. Oh, cool. Well, who you got, Dan? Who you got? No, instead, we're just going to make this interactive and fun.
Right.
We're going to pick whatever the hell we want. We're going to have competitions between the two of us. Left-handed sometimes, chess, checker, whatever, during the show, whatever we want to do. And the point of this is that unlike other shows where you can tune in and listen to people argue with each other and say, I'm right and you're wrong, and you're right and I'm wrong, and even if we're going to add in the second part, which is the fact that we're actually going to have punishments for getting these things wrong.
Oh, for sure.
The most important part of this is it's actually going to be interactive.
It's going to be like a fantasy football team and season, but with everything. Not just picking your players to see who's going to do better this week or that week. It's going to be who's going to be the best squash player in the 2017 Euro games. Who's going to be the FIBA under 18 best competing country. I mean, it is going to be literally everything because we know, Kev, it's getting into July, and July is terrible.
July sucks. July sucks.
is terrible.
July sucks. So here's the idea. Here's the general thought of this. And when I say we're going to pick things, and Dan listed off a couple things. Dan and I have been doing shows.
Oh yeah, we've been practicing.
We've done 8 of them. 8 shows. 8 weeks worth of shows that don't count. We've been picking every week, and I got to tell you guys, it's a blast.
It is.
It's a blast. It's
really
actually
is.
a lot of fun. We drafted the Vegas Golden Knights. We picked the.
Well, one of us did.
Okay. One of us drafted more
That's a
of them
teaser.
than one of us drafted more than the other did. But we're talking playoffs. We talked NBA, NHL. We're covering everything you want to hear, but you don't need to tune in to hear us talk about whatever is leading first take.
No, because you're going to get that everywhere else, right?
That's
Every
right.
single swinging dick in the business is talking, and swinging badge in the business is talking.
Those aren't ideal.
Like a vagine. Sleeve of wizard.
Sleeve of wizard, yes.
No, that's not ideal, but it happens.
Hi, Mom.
Goodness gracious, sorry. But everybody's doing that. So if we do bring a topic on that just happens to be topical, that's not just going to be for the sake of bringing it on. We will make a side bet out of everything we talk about. There's going to be some sort of verifiable pick one way or another. We may agree on a lot of them. We may disagree, but the whole point of it is that we're going to make it interactive.
Yeah, and we're gonna keep a lot of the details to ourselves, enough to say that whatever we pick, you will have the chance to pick as well. And if you pick well, there are
Rewards.
There are benefits to it.
That's right.
And we're gonna keep a lot of that on the down low. However, I think we can do one thing, which is announce the name of the show. Now, I'm Kevin Calhoun. Everybody knows this. This
Dan
is the
Condie,
Calhoun Show,
yep.
and you're Dan Condie. So. Why don't you came up with the name? So
The initials lend itself to a little play on words. The name of the show is KCDC, East versus West.
There you go. You're going to be able to start following all of the KCDC channels and everything online.
If you haven't already.
Yeah, we will. The Twitter is definitely up and running. We will announce the website and all the other things as they come to fruition and get set up. The plan as of right now is what are we doing here?
We're going
July?
live on the 17th and the 24th will be weeks 1 and 2 of our preseason.
Yep.
Gets everybody used to the way things are going to go. We'll keep track of the picks, obviously, and we'll name our preseason champ from those 2 weeks.
Yep.
But then it all restarts over for week 1 of the season. That's when it becomes official. That's when the tallying starts to be counted.
So that should be July 31.
Yep.
Will be week 1. So
Harry Potter's birthday. Some nerds might know that.
So, and one other thing that we're going to be... Yeah, that's real nerdy. There is one other thing that will be a cool feature of the show, which will be, unlike other podcasts, which are just weekly, what we're going to be doing is we're going to have seasons. We're going to do 50 weeks a year.
That's right.
With 2 off in the middle.
Yep.
That's our preseason weeks this year to get everybody acclimated to the show and ready to go. That way we can have a season 1 winner. And
That's
we can
right.
have weeks 1 through 50 winners as well.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of avenues, a lot of options, and it's going to be a blast.
Yep. So obviously we're going to keep a lot of the details to ourselves, as Kevin said. The specifics of how we're going to break down the year we'll go into a little bit more on the podcast. But now you know.
There are bits, there are jokes, there are
that's fabulous.
It's going to be a blast. KCDC East versus West, and obviously on this show I will be mentioning it from minute to minute. So. Let's get this thing going here.
Let's do it.
We have a shit ton of stuff to talk about. So I didn't do a show last week.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I suck. Whatever.
That's all right. It's all right. You're
Everybody
busy.
get over it. So, number 1, I met Dan Patrick. The video's online. You can go to the DP Show's Twitter page at DP Show. You can go to their Facebook page. They had me on the show with the video clip and everything. It was cool.
And let me just stop you there and go back over. He didn't say go to the Calhoun Show Twitter. He said go to the DP Show Twitter to find him. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right. That's awesome. That's right. Don't go to the Calhoun Shows. Well, you could. It's on there.
Of course it's on there.
It's on there, but yeah, go to the DP Show's Twitter page or Facebook page where they have all that stuff posted, and we have it as well.
And my family and I actually went to a game on Monday night.
Yes.
And we got to see Kevin do his thing. He is working with crowds of all sizes. This wasn't a bad one. This wasn't a bad one. It was a good
it was a bad one. No, that was a bad crowd.
Oh, good.
That was a bad crowd.
I was expecting less.
No, that was a bad crowd. No, we have, I think the place seats like 5,600, something like that.
Yeah, that looked about right.
We've definitely been over 4 quite a few times.
I'd love to go on a weekend game.
Yeah, we've had some good numbers this year. A Monday night though, that was rough. Last night was rough too, and I imagine tonight's going to be pretty rough on a Wednesday.
Well, this is due to obviously the roster that the Bluefish are rolling out, but I got to meet a celebrity on Monday night, and it wasn't Dan Patrick.
No,
maybe more famous, maybe not. Probably not at this point.
Not right now.
But Mr. Ozzie Fuckward Guillen.
Yes, you got to meet Ozzie Guillen.
He's amazing.
His son Osney, which is just great.
That's the best.
Plays for the Bluefish. And by the way, the Bluefish are a good baseball team this year. You, by the way, you were terrible luck the other night. You guys say they had no hits.
1-0. Yeah, no, I saw one hit.
Did you get one hit?
I saw the first base hit as we were leaving, and I was like, yeah, they got a hit. Awesome.
I texted you before. You were not in your car when I texted you, right?
With the run, I didn't see.
Yeah, but were you to the car by the time I texted Dan? I said, by the way, we did score before you got to your car.
The text got to my phone, and my wife actually read it for me as we were driving.
Okay.
But the text did get to me before I got to the car. I did not get to the text before I got to the car.
Come so Dan can
Tons of fun.
I would
Tons of fun.
Come see the Bluefish whenever you want. If you want to come and have a blast of a night, come on a weekend, and there's a ton of people. It's
best hot dog I've had in a stadium. Best hot dog I've ever had.
I haven't eaten one thing from the stadium yet.
So good.
I haven't eaten one. I don't even bring my wallet in.
They have 2 roads on tap.
I know that. Well, I can't order that when I'm working.
No, well, afterwards.
By the way, a Calhoun Show outing at some point this year. I want to go to a New Britain Bees game with the show.
Hell yeah.
And watch the Bluefish play up there and get drunk and root for my team.
Yes, let's do it.
I like it. All right, so we have a lot of things here. The NBA has been insane.
Oh, so many moves
in the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
Even this morning as I'm sitting down to get the show prepped and ready to go, I'm looking at this Phil Jackson thing, and Phil Jackson's out in New York, and now what's going to happen with Carmelo Anthony, and are they going to bring back D Rose and Porzingis and all these things, and all of a sudden, Chris Paul is going to opt in with LA and get traded to the Houston Rockets.
Spoiler alert on KCDC East vs. West episode 8. My man over here called that.
It's not really a spoiler because they're never going to hear it, but yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that episode 8 is not the real episode.
No, we're going to put it up a year later.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have like bonus content with all our practice shit epidays, by the way. Because, by the way,
as soon as it becomes valuable, it's worth nothing now.
A peek behind the curtain that I'm sure this will get re-mentioned when we start the podcast, but Dan and I, after like the sixth one, we were like, that was pretty good. That's pretty good. And after the 7th one, we were like, all right, that was pretty good. And after the 8th one, we were like, okay, we finally have this thing figured out.
Yeah.
And what did we say before? We're going to do we'll do 2-3 practice
We'll do 2-3 practice ones and make it live. No, it took 8.
It
did. Trust me, this thing is
involved. A lot of work to do.
It's involved. It's very... it's awesome.
Yeah,
you guys will love it.
So anyway, the Chris Paul thing, I did say that him to Houston on our practice episode the other night. I thought him to Houston was interesting. And nobody was talking about it.
No.
And here it is. So what are your thoughts on this? How does this dynamic work now? Obviously, Beverly goes out back to LA.
Yep.
And now you have Harden and Paul in the backcourt. They wanted to play together. Does it work together?
I think that the offense that they're going to gain in Chris Paul by opening up Harden to be able to move without the ball a lot more definitely adds more than you're going to lose in Beverly's defense. And that's saying a lot because Beverly is an insane defender, especially of the ball. Chris Paul is no slouch. I mean, you're not going to drop very far off in the defense, but his offense gives you so much. I love this move, especially because it's in the West. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You can kind of count on Cleveland to be there. I don't think the Celtics did enough, even with their excellent draft, to make up the difference with the Cavaliers. Maybe 6 or 7 games now, before the Cavs win. But I think the race in the West is very interesting now. Very interesting.
Yeah, I still don't know.
Minnesota.
If Houston and Golden State played in a series, I still think we'd pick Golden State to sweep them, right?
To sweep?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. I picked.
How much better is this Houston team than the best LA Clipper team of the last 5 years? Not much.
Yeah, the Clippers have been underachievers.
Yeah, but Houston. I don't know. Houston has
who
still.
knows? Who knows?
But the CP3 thing is interesting. But
great.
now I mentioned the Jackson thing because that's the lead story today before Chris Paul. So a couple months ago, James Dolan comes out and says that he's going to ride this out, see what Phil Jackson can make happen here. Jackson does a press conference a couple weeks ago, says, I think we know what we're doing, which is just a beautiful quote out of him.
Yeah.
And then
say nothing.
The draft approaches. He says, Carmelo, we're going to explore trades after the draft. And then Porzingis is all of a sudden available. And now James Dolan is not riding the wave.
No.
And Phil Jackson's out.
Yep. So clearly, Phil Jackson just was not the answer there. But I was listening to Russillo's show today on the way over here, and one of the guys he had on with him, I can't remember who it was, but he was saying, really, how much can you blame Phil when the Knicks' problems have been so bad under Dolan even before Phil? Like, what were you? I wasn't expecting magic out of Phil. To be honest with you, I wasn't expecting that.
No, for sure. And Phil, Phil signed the Carmelo no trade clause.
Made your bed, now sleep in it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
But then, you think about the fact that, think back to the nightmare that was the D'Antoni situation, right?
Yeah.
And the Jeremy Lin thing. All pre-Phil Jackson.
Yep.
All pre-Phil Jackson.
Isaiah was terrible. I mean, it just was, there was no, drop off other than just the team dynamics. I mean, I don't know how much of that you can pin on Carmelo, probably a lot, but I don't think Phil was the answer there. I think getting Dolan out of there is really the only solution at this point. What was it, 1973? The last, 79? The last Knicks championship?
Somewhere in there.
It was a long time
68,
ago. It was before us.
68 maybe? I don't know.
It was before us.
Yeah, it was well.
Is my point.
Well before us.
And I'm pushing 32. So something needs to change there. We'll see what happens, but looks like Carmelo Anthony's sticking around.
Yeah, it certainly does.
And that was the boiling point, right?
Yeah, so now Porzingis isn't going to go anywhere. No. And Porzingis aligned himself with Carmelo. The exit interview, he skips it with Phil. He likes Carmelo, so I think both of them are going to be there. They're talking about re-signing Derrick Rose now.
We'll see. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, Rose has to prove himself before he gets his value back up, I think.
Who's the leader for this team? Where would you turn for a coach? Or, I guess your coach is still going to be Hornacek. Where are you looking now?
I really don't know. Hornacek doesn't strike me as the type of coach that Carmelo needs, to be honest with you, because at Q's he had the coaching that was necessary to win the Final Four, the NCAA championship.
Yes,
in Boeheim. Is there a coach with Boeheim's temperament? I think that could be a good thing for Carmelo, but at the same time, Melo was a freshman in college, and now he's a multi-all-star appearance player whose head is bigger than his game, I would say.
But I think his body is bigger than his game now.
Good one. Are they going to have to put him on some weight regimen for his bonuses now?
He had, I think he had less than 3 dunks last year.
I would believe it.
Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. He's sitting back on his shooting game. And I don't blame him. I mean, he's a lights out shooter. But yeah, he will opt for the fadeaway rather than the blow by.
Yeah. So the Carmelo thing, it certainly looks like he's not going anywhere. And they were discussing a buyout with the Knicks. Mm-hmm. His people approached the
stretch
Knicks.
Clause, yep.
Yeah, and the Knicks instead decide to part ways with Phil, which is hilarious. The Celtics, they pass on Fultz.
Yeah.
They take Tatum.
I didn't think they were going to take Tatum. Who went number 4?
Jackson.
I thought they were taking Jackson.
Well, Jackson skipped his workout with the Celtics, and Danny Ainge was not pleased.
No.
So they go with Tatum. Did you watch enough of Fultz to have an opinion on whether or not that's a mistake? Or just some kind of insight into it? I guess you there's no way to know if it's a mistake, but would you have taken it if you know?
His pro scouting report was much higher than my opinion on him just watching what little I did of him in the Pac-12. Utah played Washington a couple times, obviously, and I don't remember if they split games or if Washington won those both. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington won both. But, Folks never really jumped out at me in the same way Lonzo Ball did, but I'm not high on Lonzo Ball now after the fact, watching his pro scouting events. So we'll see. We'll see what folks can do. I don't think it's the tipping point. Even with Embiid in Philly, I don't think it does enough.
Now the Celtics rumored after Hayward, obviously, the Brad Stevens connection, all of that's easy to put together.
Yeah.
And then the other name. Is there a team in the NBA that is not pursuing Paul George? Have you heard a report
of a team that says we don't want him?
Yeah,
I think Denver's tapped out.
The Mavericks have opted to not pursue Paul George.
Man.
Everyone's after Paul George. Yeah. That's every story. The Celtics are after him.
Who else is left?
The Wizards are after him. The Cavaliers are after him. The Clippers are after him.
I like him in Washington. I think that's a decent fit.
John Wall likes him in Washington.
Of course. Yeah. I don't think he ends up there, but it would be a good fit.
I think that'd be a really good fit. Oh, one more Carmelo thing. I heard Wally Szczerbiak this morning on WFAN say, was it Szczerbiak? No, it was Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, same person.
I listened to Boomer and Carton and Szczerbiak was on, and then I watched First Take when I was
Yeah. Okay.
So Stephen A. Smith said that Carmelo to Houston is a distinct possibility still with a buyout. A buyout and then he goes to Houston.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. I had no idea that was even remotely on the table.
Well, it might not have been before this morning.
That's true.
They're talking a lot of different a lot of different people now see Houston as a very favorable landing spot, and I don't disagree.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. It's gonna be nothing for you guys. And then we got a couple more things to do.
That's right.
The Calhoun Show.
All right, so. We still have a lot of stuff. Yeah, we were gone for a long time.
In the interim, go ahead and read that little message I got.
Okay, what does this say? NFL former running back Clinton Portis admits to contemplating killing ex-manager after losing millions in various investments.
Wow.
Admits to contemplating killing. Is there so what's the legal side behind that?
Know.
Is there a punishment for contemplating?
No, there's no legal precedence against thought crime.
Because then you could arrest everybody for saying we should rob a bank.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that's hey, you know what? Though. On Clinton Portis' side, if I got swindled out of millions of dollars, I would certainly contemplate killing that person. Let's be honest.
Millions.
Let's be honest here.
But hey, Portis back in the news. Congratulations.
You know what I remember? Here's a weird memory. I remember being in the upstairs, the second floor of my childhood home when we were adding the second floor. Mm-hmm. And my dad was doing duct work up in the ceiling above what eventually was the living room. And you know where I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Nice room. My favorite room up there.
Standing in that living room, before it was a living room, it was all studs and everything. The Giants were playing the Redskins, and I think Clinton Portis scored 2 touchdowns, and it was infuriating to me. And if I'm completely off on that and the years are wrong, then I'm going to hate myself. But it was a running back for the Redskins, and I'm pretty sure it was Portis. Scored 2 touchdowns and just ruined my day.
Man.
So anyway, random memory of Clinton Portis.
Good times. All my memories of Clinton Portis are him on the Broncos while I was living in Denver.
Yeah. What year? All right. So what years was that?
03, 04, I want to say.
Okay, so I might be in the ballpark because the addition was in 01. So that sounds exactly right. That Portis would have been a Redskin in 01. Is that wrong?
I think he was drafted by the Broncos. And then went to the Redskins.
Oh no.
He was a late Redskin. Maybe
this
I'm
is
wrong.
the worst. No. All right, hold on. Redskins roster 2001.
And if you're right, then I'm way off on my guess of Clinton Portis being with the Broncos still that late. He must have been with them, but he wasn't with them in the Super Bowl years of 98, 99.
Who?
That was
Portis?
that was Davis.
Yeah, that was Davis.
Mike Anderson.
Yes.
And Gary. Oh, what was his name? Gary O. Something. Gary.
I have no idea.
Oh man.
Stephen Davis is who I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Stephen Davis is who I'm thinking of.
All right. Glad we figured that out.
I feel way better. I feel way better now. Stephen Davis. Damn it. All right. Well, Stephen Davis ruined my day. He scored 2 touchdowns. The Timberwolves went and got Jimmy Butler, Dan. Did you see that?
Sure did.
So
reuniting Tibbs and Butler. I love it.
All right. So we had this conversation on our KCDC East versus West practice episode the other night. But let's talk about the Timberwolves next season. How many wins should they get?
Well, I put we put the over-under at 51.5. I was high on them. Kevin was slightly lower, but still not.
But still high on them, though.
Yeah, we're within 8 games of each other.
Yeah, so Dan had them around 55.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Which
55.
would put them this year at the 3 seed with Houston.
I agree with that.
And then I had them at like 46, 47 wins. So that's how we settled on. So that's another part of the show. We set our own over-unders.
That's right.
Because we want it to be authentic. Because we're not going to argue a side if we don't believe it.
Right.
So we set things ourselves.
Correct.
There you go. So anyway, we're just going to keep plugging the show. It's going to be great. So
you can't get away from it.
Yes. So anyway,
so we put it at 51.5.
I think they're going to be really good.
What Kevin asked me specifically
not as good as you do, though.
No. What Kevin specifically asked me was, how many more games will they win this year than last year? And I didn't know how many games the Minnesota Wolves had won last year to accurately say how many more they were going to have, because I had a number in my head, obviously, of what the win percentage would be.
Sure.
And I went with that, which I thought 55 wouldn't surprise me, with the addition that Butler gives that team with their talent already. So I'm very high on this move.
Yeah, and my thought on that, and I agree with the fact that Jimmy Butler should make this team a lot better. Mm-hmm. I just think that winning 24 more games than you did the year before, that's just a lot of games to win. That's
no question.
That's a gigantic culture change, especially for a team that blew a ton of leads this year.
Sure.
So
I'd be interested to know how many wins certain players are worth to a team that was not a playoff team the year before. So, for instance, you have LeBron going to Cleveland after they were last place in the East. And how many more wins was he worth? You could say KD was worth just as many wins, but he went to a team that set the record for NBA wins.
So they had a minus.
Season.
He was a negative.
But does that mean that his addition was a minus? No, because they got the ring. So it's hard to say in those terms. I think if you said that they finished third in the West after this addition, it wouldn't surprise me. I think that's their ceiling for sure. I think that's their ceiling. I don't think they get past either now Houston or Golden State. And I think maybe the Spurs and Minnesota will now be vying for the 4 spot with the loss of Chris Paul. LA goes way down.
Yeah.
They drop out. Utah, you can make an argument for now taking over the 4 spot instead of the 5.
Yeah, unless
but I think
Hayward's going to leave. Hayward's going to leave and Utah's going to drop.
So there we go. So I think Minnesota is going to be better than Utah. They're going to be better than the Clippers, and those were the 4-5 last year. Yeah. We'll see what the Spurs do. So
Minnesota is shopping Rubio. I don't know if you saw that this morning.
How much value do you think he has?
I think he's more valuable to them than anybody else,
because he
can't shoot. He can't shoot, but he passes and he dribbles and he does all the things that should set up those players. Butler, Wiggins, Towns, like that is
they can shoot for you.
Rubio. That's perfect for Rubio.
Keep him.
Yeah, I agree. I would keep Rubio if it was up to me.
So with Rubio, Butler, Wiggins, and Towns,
it's amazing.
That's not a 3 seed. You think? You don't think that gets more than 51.5?
Not in the West. Just because it's the West.
Okay.
Yeah, because you know your top 3. Now you know your top 3 because Houston's not coming out of the top 3 with Chris Paul.
What did the Spurs do to improve? What do you think?
I don't think the Spurs necessarily have to improve by a lot because they looked good until Kawhi got hurt.
That's true.
You know,
that's true.
They're going to be a year older. They're going to be
every one of their draft picks is magic. Somehow.
LaMarcus Aldridge might be out. He might go. They might move him.
Yeah. Don't blame him.
Aldridge, I don't know. He had a rough first round of the playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But you know your top 3 seeds in the West, and then I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna have to look at the standings and tell you.
Portland's got a great backcourt. Portland has the opportunity to go and get somebody. They could take over the Clippers or Jazz spot.
Sure.
And then.
So. The Clippers were the 4 seed this year.
Yep.
I still think that the Clippers are somewhere between the 4 and the 6. They still have Blake Griffin. They still have DeAndre Jordan. They have Patrick Beverly. They have Lou Williams. They have a first round next year. Like this is still going to be still going to be a 5 through 8 seed team.
Sure, they're not going to drop out of the playoffs.
But the Clippers are the kind of team that I see Minnesota winning as many games as them.
Yep.
Because I think the Minnesota roster is more talented. But they haven't won anything yet. So they're going to have to move their way up the win number. It's so hard. It's just hard to jump 24 wins. That's really my only argument. It's just hard to change your team in that heavyweight without, he's not LeBron James.
No.
If it was LeBron James going to Minnesota right now, I'd say that team is the number 2 seed in the West, and maybe the one if LeBron decided that he wanted to play 80 games at a high level.
Yes.
Honestly.
If LeBron didn't play the style of basketball he's been playing
and
for
he
the
has
last
to.
3 years.
And he has to, for sure. Because he's played so much. He's got to sit games.
What would his numbers look like if he was just trying for numbers and not rings? Because that's really only his focus. His only focus is
the
rings.
Russell Westbrook strategy.
Yeah, the Russell Westbrook strategy. Where does that season, what does that season look like? Oh, my God.
I think it looks like the finals 2 years ago when they lost, when it was just him and Dellavedova. I think that's what they look
godlike?
like. Yes.
Godlike, okay.
Yes.
Turning Dellavedova into a household name.
I think
he has his own shoe line, Dellavedova, by the way. Wear a pair of delis.
Oh, no. No, you don't want that. So what you want? Let's talk about
one selling shoe in Australia.
Let's talk about the Lakers for a second. Mm-hmm. They trade D. Russ.
Yep.
They trade the bad Mozgov contract.
Yeah.
So now they have Lonzo, and they have Ingram, and they have Clarkson. Is it Clarkson still there? Am I wrong on Clarkson?
I'm not sure.
Crap. Either way. And they have Randall.
Yep.
So, do you like Lonzo?
No,
Okay.
I don't at all. In fact, I think he's going to be a huge bust. I think he's going to be a laughing stock of the NBA. I think he's going to do what his little brother did in that Houston league that they just had like last week. I don't remember what it was, but it's a contrived league with dads coaching in like the high school off season.
Okay.
I don't know if it's AU affiliated. I don't think they are AAU, whatever.
Yeah.
But LeVar Ball was coaching LaMelo, I think it was, that was playing in this game. He shot like 8 air balls, and his team got blown out by 55. That's what I think Lonzo Ball is going to do for the Lakers. He sucks.
I'm not with you. I'm not with you on Lonzo.
Okay.
All right, so I like this Lakers team.
Okay.
You add Brooks Lopez, who's in a contract year. He's going to be a good center.
Yep.
Ingram showed flashes. He should be really good. Randall has been good. They still have Clarkson, by the way. I looked it up.
Okay. Nice.
I like Nance. And then what we've seen from Lonzo is for sure he has the passing. So that's something we know he can do.
Yeah.
We know he can pass.
He's got great court vision.
Yeah.
Great court vision.
And to me, like, you can't bust out if you've got that good a vision. Like, his vision's compared to LeBron and Magic. But people are careful when they compare that, because they don't compare the shooting or the dribbling or the overall skill. Mm-hmm. But when they talk about the vision, they aren't afraid. The people that know, they aren't afraid to mention those names with Lonzo. No. Because he does pass the ball that well.
He's shown the ability to be able to pass that well. But the NBA is a different monster.
Of course.
And even when UCLA got into their conference tournament, and the March Madness tournament, Lonzo disappeared. He really does not have the big stage ability, and that's where I fall off on him. So in an NBA environment, I don't think those skills transfer for him.
All right, last NBA thing.
Yep.
Russell Westbrook is the MVP. Yes or no? Right or wrong?
That is right. He is the MVP. Are you saying you want to subjectively say he's not? Or are you just saying factually if he is or not? Because factually he is.
I think the MVP award is stupid now.
I agree.
Because they announced it in, is it October already? Have they started the next season yet? It's been so long since the finals ended. Why is the MVP, a regular season award, announced 4 weeks after the finals ends?
Oh, because nobody cared before. Nobody watched the actual presentation of it.
Yeah, but if they announced it before the finals starts or before the playoffs start, like, at least it matters, because we saw Westbrook and Harden suck in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We saw both of them suck in the playoffs. Yep. And now you're telling us that one of them is the most valuable player.
You didn't need to give me you didn't need to give me the playoffs to tell you that they aren't the most valuable player, because I can simply do it with this test, and I don't know if I've said it on your show before, but I might have. If you were awarded the number 1 pick and all NBA players are available, I'm sure you would pick KD. Yes or no? If
I'm building for the future?
Yes. I'm taking Kawhi. Yeah, you get the number 1 overall pick, all NBA players, and let's say seniors and would-be goers in the draft.
Well,
from
I wouldn't
college.
take anybody from college.
Correct.
You can't know what anybody.
I'm just saying those are available.
I would take Giannis.
Okay.
I would take Giannis.
I'd take Kawhi.
Okay.
So neither one of those players, obviously, Kawhi was in the discussion, but as a third, it was really either going to be Harden or Westbrook.
Yeah.
But neither of us would say that they are the player with the most value in the NBA.
And hey, and there's no arguing that Matt Ryan won the MVP and he's not the best player in football. But they also didn't announce it after the Super Bowl.
And I didn't even know Matt Ryan was the MVP.
Wasn't he? He was the MVP, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It wouldn't surprise me at all, but nobody cares is my point. Yeah. At least the casual viewer doesn't care.
But they didn't announce it 3 weeks after the Super Bowl when you're going, that dude just blew a 28-3 lead. How is he the most valuable player?
Well, and those people got to know that the voting was done when it was done. Yeah, but you're saying
the
announce it when the voting's done?
The timeline is right with everybody else. The NBA does it completely wrong. What's the point of having the awards this late?
Draw it out.
Mike D'Antoni was the coach of the year, by the way. Just
yeah.
Revel and just enjoy that. Mike D'Antoni, coach of the year.
Yeah. After he was dead in the water, he thanked his agent for pulling him out of the grave.
He thanked the New York media.
Yeah. Begrudgingly.
Yes.
Begrudgingly.
Yes.
He said, if I got to.
Yeah. If I have to thank the New York media.
So be it, he said.
Yeah.
I got to thank the media for voting for me, so be it. That's funny. No, it was well deserved. So they gave him coach of the year in lieu of Harden winning the MVP then, I guess.
I guess so. All right. So we got to talk about McEnroe and Serena Williams.
Okay.
Are you aware of this?
No.
All right,
Serena's pregnant. So what's going on with McEnroe?
All right. So I didn't mention this to you before we started because I didn't know if you have heard the story yet. And it's interesting and I wanted you to have a fresh perspective.
Let's hear it.
So John McEnroe was on a podcast with NPR.
Oh, good.
The other day.
Okay.
And the woman interviewing him asked him about Serena. And I'm going to paraphrase what he said, and people can look up what he said.
John McEnroe.
Okay,
I can imagine. Let's hear it.
Okay. So what he said basically was she is the best female tennis player of all time.
Maybe the best player of all time.
So that was what
female or male. So the caveat he added was the controversy.
She asked, she said, why do you couch it? Why do you say best female tennis player? And he said that, is there a chance she could beat a professional man? Yes, of course there is.
For sure, yeah.
But then he said if she played on the men's tour, she'd be the 700th best player. There's no way she could stand up. Yeah, that's what he said. I don't know if 700 is the right number. He's not wrong. She's not the best tennis player on the planet.
No,
she's
and
just
every
not.
single one of her matches that have ever gone to a third set would not be over in men's tennis.
No.
So every game or every match that she's won 2 sets straight, who knows, she might only need 3, to win it in straight sets. But men's tennis, playing 5 sets takes it out of you. And this is coming from somebody who played...
They've got to hit the ball 30% harder, too.
Yeah. So this is coming from a state tennis player from Colorado. It's hard to play 5 competitive sets in amateur tennis. I can't imagine. And that's no slight on Serena Williams. I have no doubt in my mind she could play 5 sets. But competitively for majors,
No.
700th best? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know the answer, but the fact that
but men don't play women in her league, so she is at a slight disadvantage there just by comparison. Because I think you're right. She could beat some men even on the pro league.
Sure,
she could.
On a day.
For sure.
It could happen.
She serves 120 miles an hour.
Does she? That's crazy.
Respectable in the men's league. So she has the power. The only question I have is I don't know. I really don't know. That's a good question. 700 is just way too low for me. So the backlash was bad, I'm sure.
I don't know. I can't. Here's going to be my litmus test for it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying
some people said Serena was born a man, so maybe she would be all right.
I'm not saying Nadal is the best player on the planet. I don't know who the best tennis player is. I don't care. Is it Djokovic? Is it Nadal? I don't know.
It's Nadal.
Either way, if you played Rafa Nadal on clay, and I bet she would win less than 3 games in the 3 sets.
Yep.
On clay.
Yep.
You can't be the best tennis player in the world if you'd win less than 3 games against somebody else out of 3 sets.
I agree.
And I'm using Nadal on clay as a very extreme example. It's the best combo of player to surface in tennis history, I think, right?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Nadal loves clay more than anybody has ever loved anything.
It's where he made his mark on the map.
For sure.
Put him on the map.
So she's and Craig Carton said this the other day. And I agreed with him. She's the most dominant player of all time.
In sports, maybe.
Maybe
in sports, yeah.
But she's not the best.
No.
She's the most dominant.
Because
but
when you
she's
say
not
the best player, that includes men by default.
Yeah, and if sports and people have said this forever, if sports were co-ed, 99% of the athletes would be men.
100.
You think it would be 100?
100%. If women
Chris
had to
Cyborg,
compete,
Chris Cyborg, that's going to be my one.
at her
Yes.
weight division,
Yeah.
what's her weight? 145
Yeah, I would put her in there
against Connor.
No,
Okay.
no. I didn't
That's
say championship
145.
level. I didn't say championship level.
I see.
She
I
could
see.
beat up like the 12th ranked UFC 145er.
On juice, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But again, who knows? What I do know is that for that example, for the MMA example, the horrendous men's MMA competitor pre-Fallon Fox, I don't know what his name was, but after he went transgender, became a woman, went through all the hormone therapies and all that kind of stuff, became a woman, and won every single
I just drank my water bottle up against the mic and it made the. Well, you guys heard it.
slurping. Yeah, you heard it. You don't need to tell them.
I'm marking it. Hold on, I'm marking it. I'm taking that
Keep
sound
it.
out. That was the worst sound in the world.
Worst sound, slurp.
Coming out of there.
Take that. You will hear that on the KCDC East versus West anytime some crazy point is made or something. Just. All right, so this guy gets the surgery, gets the hormone transplant therapy.
Yeah.
Is now Fallon Fox,
Yeah.
female MMA competitor.
Yeah.
And he's won every single. She has won every single fight in an early knockout. Just out cold. He's knocking broads out. Just boom. And one of the women that fought him gave an interview. Fought her. Excuse me. I have to get over that. It's new to everybody. I apologize. So, fought her and said,
How dare you?
I've fought tons of women throughout my career, and that grip that Fallon Fox had on me, I could not move. You know what that sounds to me like?
It's a man hands. It's a man hands.
Man hands.
It's man hands.
That's man hands. So there are certain things.
Have you heard?
And I've argued that if women and men had to compete with each other in the heats for the Olympic team, we would never send another woman to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Never.
No.
Because
No.
every one of the women's records that are set for the same event that men run, the last place man beats that time.
Hold on. There's one woman we're bringing, right? Isn't there one? You told me this, didn't you? Isn't there one Olympic
Fox?
record that's held by a woman? Like the discus or something? I think it was you that told me this.
One woman's record that beats a man's record?
Yeah, in the
No.
Olympics.
No.
There's not one? I thought there was one. I thought it was like the
Yes,
discus.
there was. Yes, there was one. And then after the fact, their ball is lighter.
Oh.
So they play with the 8.5 ounce or
that's
whatever
a
the equivalent is
bummer.
for the NBA. Yeah, it's a bummer, but it's the truth. So I mean, I don't know. I love women's sports, like women's volleyball, women's soccer, for obvious reasons. But I just whenever I try to get into the NBA and or the WNBA, and I've tried.
You've tried to
it a
get into the WNBA.
I've tried to get into the WNBA where I actually watched an entire game, and I'm not being superfluous or facetious here. Like, I really do compare it to when I used to play pickup games in high school when I was like 16. The athletic ability was about the same in like what they were able to do. Their shooting percentages were much higher, obviously. These are skilled professionals. They were shooting the lights out compared to my experience, but the shots they were taking were the exact same. And the dunks amount per game were the exact same, and just the level of athletic ability was the exact same. So the WNBA is just harder to get into than the NBA for obvious reasons. And that flows through all of sports, including tennis, if I'm being honest.
I think Gino Auriemma could win the WNBA championship with UConn.
Yep.
I really do.
Oh, they absolutely could, because that's who the WNBA players are. That's where they're coming out of. Just like, well, I don't know if it's just like, but Calipari, if he took one of his the NCAA champion Kentucky Wildcats that was almost predominantly freshmen, he could beat the then Nuggets of the world or whoever were last 76ers of the world. Yeah. I really do think so.
All right, one more thing, and then we're out of here.
Yep.
Are you stoked for Conor and Floyd?
Who isn't? I don't care if it's a good fight or not. I see. Well, how do you see this fight going? Because I'm interested. In your mind, the bell rings, round one. What happens?
I think that Floyd should win the fight after 12 rounds. And I think that if there's a finish, it's either because Conor is having such a hard time hitting Floyd, and Floyd is just moving and hitting him and hitting him and hitting him and wears him down. Okay. We've seen Conor wear down before. He was hurt when he wore down. He was hurt when he wore down, to be fair to him. Mm-hmm. But we've seen it, and he's fighting the pound-for-pound best boxer maybe of all time. It's completely possible that he just can't land anything really significant, and every time he misses, Floyd is tagging him, and he hits him 400 times.
So you think Floyd is ducking and dodging, getting shots in
that's what Floyd does.
Countering.
That's what Floyd does.
I agree with you.
On Conor's side?
On Conor's
if there's a
side,
knockout, if there's a pure knockout in this fight, it's Conor's.
It's Conor's. Floyd is not knocking Conor out if Conor stood there with his hands behind his back and gave Floyd his 10 best punches in a row. Ready, go. He's not knocking him out.
But he would if he gave him that many punches for 12 rounds. That's why Floyd can finish him. Floyd can finish him.
But you think it'll be late 10, 11?
Yeah, I think it would be later.
I think Floyd cheats before then. I think it's I think if it gets that late, or did I say Floyd?
Yeah.
Conor cheats before then. If it gets that late in the round, he'll get frustrated. He'll throw some illegal elbow or something. I don't know.
Well, I don't think he could do that because I think he'd lose the purse.
Yeah.
I think it's in the contract.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm sure it's in the contract.
He'll make up that $20 million. He'll make up that $20 million from just that's it. The rest of his life. He'd be famous the rest of his life. And who's to say he wouldn't be even?
I think he already is.
I think if he loses a 12-round decision where he just gets picked apart for 12 rounds, that's the only way that Conor comes out of this looking bad. The only way. Every other result, if he gets knocked out, if he gets knocked clean out in the first or second round by Floyd Mayweather, that would be embarrassing, I think, because Floyd
doesn't
knock out actual boxers. So
Nate Diaz punches way harder than Floyd Mayweather does.
He slaps
with
harder
less
than
gloves,
Floyd
with less glove on his hands.
Exactly. So I think when Floyd connects with Conor's face, Conor is going to be
gets
elated.
Hit a lot. Conor gets hit a lot.
He does. He's going to be elated at how much that didn't hurt. He may just scoot Floyd right into the corner, taking 20 punches along the way, just right into the corner, coming at him like a man on a mission, and then just throwing wildly. As he's getting punched in the face, maybe. I think that's the only way that Conor can go about this fight and win it, is just to get Floyd in a situation where you can't back up any further, and I'm going to throw punches at your head and your body, and something's going to connect. Something's going to connect in the body, and it's going to hurt a lot, and something's going to connect with the head, and it's going to knock him out. If he can walk through Floyd's punches, I'm saying that's his opportunity to win. And I think other boxers may have implemented that technique. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look, but I think in boxing, you're so afraid to just get hit because every one of those hits is against you on the card, and it's a 12 round. You only have 2 minutes to make this round count. I don't know that it's worth the strategy for anybody else. For Conor, that's the only way he's going to win. You got to back him up.
It'll be fun.
Awesome.
All right. What's the Twitter handle?
Twitter handle is at KCDC EVW.
That's it.
Easy.
KCDC East versus West, coming to an iTunes and a Stitcher and SoundCloud near you.
Sooner than you know it. Check our Facebook for promotion. We're going to start promoting that out this week. Share it with your friends. You know what I mean? This is word of mouth. The only way that we're going to get big is word of mouth. As soon as you see it, even if you aren't planning on listening to it, that's fine. It's not for everybody. Share it out to your friends. Who knows who will be interested in it?
It is for everybody, by the way.
It is.
It is for everybody. It's 100% for everybody. And you have to. And by the way, when you start listening to the show, you do get to join either Team East or Team West.
That's right. We'll throw it out there for those wishing to become part of the podcast. It's as interactive as you're going to find.
Picks have been pretty close for us in the last few weeks. Not in the last couple weeks, but overall,
Yes.
we've been pretty good.
Yep.
Pretty close. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Dan Condie.
I'm out.
See you later, buddy.
The Calhoun Show.
All right. As always, a big thank you to Dan for coming in. And I hope you guys are excited. KCDC East versus West. We're going to be starting up here in a couple weeks. And 2 preseason weeks, and then we launch into season 1, week 1. And it's going to be a blast. We've had a ton of fun. I'm serious. We've had a lot of fun working in the studio, on Sunday and Monday nights over the last 8 weeks, prepping the show, doing practice episodes of the show, working on bit titles, recording videos. We've recorded all of it, so we'll be able to have kind of a worst of, best of type deal at some point with all the stuff that we've recorded so far. And one of the cool things that we were doing that I was happy that we did was the first few episodes. Obviously, most of it was kind of, start a topic and then think about where we want to move next and how we want to transition things. And instead of turning the recorder off or editing anything, we didn't do anything with it. We just left the mics on. We talked through how the show is going to set up. We came up with ideas, and I'm sure episode ideas in the first one are the things that we never revisited again, and we moved on. And it's really exciting, and I'm really happy. And I should say, it's important to say, this show's not going anywhere. I've had honestly more fun doing this show over the last 6 months than I have doing it at any point. And one of the things that got me to that point is I want, the Dan Patrick thing was amazing because I got to spend some time with the people that have the jobs that I want someday. And those goals haven't changed, and I still want to not be recording in my office in my apartment. I want to be recording in a studio. I want to have a producer, and I want to have all those things, and it comes with hard work and quality content. And I can promise you that with Dan Condie will come both of those things. So I'm very excited about the podcast. I'm very excited for the direction that we're headed, and I think I'm really lucky to have a partner in Dan because he does a lot of things really well that I do really badly at. And I like to think that the stuff that I'm going to bring to this podcast has a lot to do with sitting in the chair I'm sitting in now. And Dan's a wizard with everything else, and I'm going to be there at his side to help. But I'm super excited about the partnership, and I think it's going to work. So be ready for that. KCDC East versus West. We're excited. Our good buddy Andy, well known on this show, made the logo for us. So if you go to the Twitter page at KCDC EVW and you see our picture there, it's awesome. It's badass. And it's because Andy made it. So thank you to him at Andrew Schucht, SCHACHT on Twitter. If you need any kind of photoshopping, anything like that, he's always looking to help people out. So go ahead and reach out to him and see what he can do. So that's it for me for this week. And for Dan, I will talk to you guys a week from now. I am about to hop in the shower, get ready for a night at the ballpark at Harbor Yard. Come down and see me in Bridgeport sometime, Connecticut people. All right, y'all. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you for listening to The Calhoun Show. Join the conversation by following the show on Twitter at Calhoun Show and emailing the show at calhounshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe and download for free on iTunes. Want to hear yourself on the show? Leave us a voicemail by calling 860-740-2119.